we're going to continue going in depth on these Dynasty rookie draft prospects. And today we're going to talk about Tyjae Spears. Since he's a hot topic right now, a lot of people are talking about him since the Senior Bowl, and he did do well. He did look good in the practices, in the clips, and I even have some on my YouTube page, so go check that out. But let's get started on him. He's a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, was not a big prospect. Started his freshman season in 2019. Like any other freshman season, limited production, 182 rushing yards. Then in 2020, was getting a little bit more work, but tore his ACL, but bounced back in 2021 during his junior season and led the team with 863 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. Then comes the 2022. This season, this is where the blow up happens. Rushes for 1,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, catching 22 balls for 215 yards. Averaged 4.55 yards after contact per attempt. Had 9 100-yard games and 205 yards and 4 touchdowns to finish the year against USC. And that really put his name on the map to people who wasn't really in the know about him. Looked good all season. Flashing speed, flashing burst, very electric. Brought that to the Senior Bowl. Had that big catch in practice where he ran that route with the dead leg, switched directions. Weighed in well at the Senior Bowl at 204 pounds. A lot of people were expecting him to be like 195 or less or so. In that range, 204. Good weight at 5'9" and a little bit of change. What we see on film is a very, very explosive athlete. Has home run hitting speed. Got a lot of burst, very decisive, good vision, reads the momentum of the defenders and his blocks, will make the correct reads, very electric, home run threats. There's not really much bad you can say about him. The only thing I can really come up with is his frame, but you got to have some different athletes as well, so I don't really consider that too big of a hindrance. But the thing that's going to impact him is I wish he came out last year or was in a different class, because a player like this, a G5 prospect in a running back class, that is just stacked with talent. Stacked. And this isn't his fault. This is not his fault. This just stacked with talent that could impact him a little bit in his draft slot. That could cause him to get drafted a few slots later. And imagine this. You're on the board. You got a running back. You got some wide receivers, some tackles, some defense looking at you. You know running back stacked. You know you can probably wait another pick or two to get a running back. And the talent's not dropping off too much. But tackle it is. Safety it's starting to look like. You've been eyeing the center. And you know what? I pull trigger on one of those positions. And I get my running back later. And then that dilutes the position a little bit. And some of these guys fall a little bit farther than what you think. You're talking about a guy who looks like he could compete for day 2 draft capital here. And have a good opportunity of making some money for a G5 prospect. And nothing is guaranteed now with this draft. I'm saying something could happen with some of these prospects. I can't even predict really, but I predict that somebody's going to fade. Someone's going to go a little farther down the board than expected, and that player could still be a damn good player, especially for fantasy, especially for the NFL. And it's just how the market is. It's just so deep, and we got so much different talent out there that you can really have your cake and eat it too at this running back class. You can pay up, get one of the top backs, hang out a little bit, middle rounds, get a good back. It's Oprah Winfrey out there just giving you running backs. But end of the day, no matter what happens, what these NFL teams do with their strategy, he's a good running back. Value-wise, if he was in any other class, he would be up there. I see a lot of people ranking him around the RB5 range, but I don't see many people drafting him around the RB5 range. I feel like he's going to be a decent get in rookie drafts. I think he's going to be a good value. I think the value is going to be good on him. And there's a lot of running backs that's going to be a good value. There's going to be a lot of them because we got a lot of running backs. And not all of them are going to be huge hits in the draft. And some of them are just going to come at a good price tag. And we also got some good wide receivers who are going to be a good value. And we also got a lot of good wide receivers who are going to be a good value. So that's something you want to look at too. And I think he can really be all over the place. We just got to wait for the drafts. I think he'll do all right at the combine. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good back. I think he's a good guy to have on your dynasty team as a speculative asset. I think there's a lot of good speculative assets at the running back position. I think if you're RB15 in this class, you're up there in last year's class. I'll tell you that much. If you're RB10, you're up there in last year's class. If you're RB8, you're up there in last year's class. This is a deep class. There's a lot of good running backs. He's one of them. He's good on film. He's got bursts. I read a draft profile on him stating that they wish they saw more work out of him in the passing game. You know what? I saw him catch the ball enough, 22 catches, and I saw him work in space, be elusive after the catch. That's enough for me. I've seen enough on that. I think he can be a good pass-catching specialist at the NFL level if need be. So I think he's got it all to really help an NFL team and possibly provide enough production to help you out in fantasy. And one thing I like about him too is a lot of people like him. He's got like this popular vote in him to where if he does hit or showcase any sort of production, his value is going to have some extra points to it to where he'll be more liquid on the trade market. At least he'll be perceived that way. So when there's tiebreakers, that kind of breaks the tie with me on some players. Like if a player has a market to them that people like about them, even if I don't like them, or even if they're kind of odd or something. Say it was Kyren Williams later. Kyren Williams had this weird market on him that no matter what, people loved him. And he could run at 4'9", a 5'9", weigh in at 130 pounds, and people would still draft him. Tyjae Spears, not a comparison as a player, but a comparison as the love he gets. He's getting a lot of love on social media, and that's something I want to invest into because this makes him a little bit more liquid if he starts doing well, and that's something I'm into. I like it when an asset goes higher than the asking price, and that gives a potential for that. That's something you got to note when you're watching social media and people talk. Just keep your mouth shut and watch the market. Let the market tell you what to do. And it's telling me right now that if this guy has a string of 6 games and he's playing well, getting double-digit fantasy points, his value will go a little bit higher than another running back with similar draft capital, similar specs, who also was productive for 6 games because he's already got a fan base behind him. And that makes me like him a little bit more. And yes, I will draft assets as assets because that's what they are. And I'm building dynasty teams. But I do like him as a player. I like what I see. There's just a lot of damn backs. And you're just going to diversify between a lot of them. And this is the year to lean in on running back like I've been telling you for the last 2 years on here. Stack up with wide receivers last year. Get your running backs this year. This is another back that you can have on the back end of your roster, back end of your taxi squad. See what happens. There's some good stock here that could help you out. Even if something happens and he falls in the draft. Or if he gets drafted high. No matter what happens, you either want to catch him at a value or you got a guy here that could trend up. So I just don't see how he could be a horrible play. But it really just depends how the NFL value him. One thing is he is a slender running back. He weighed in at 204. But he's not the bulkiest guy. Means he's got to be a specialist. Means he's not going to hold it down as a 3-down grinder for a long time. So he's going to have someone else there to compete for touches with. But he's got that juice in his step to where he can be productive when given the opportunity. And he doesn't need that much opportunities to be productive as well. Because he can be using the passing game. Get your yards after contact, yards after the catch, dangerous home run threats if he sees daylight. So there's just a lot of good things. He moves laterally well, good footwork, very elusive. I like what I see here. Not afraid to invest. The price is right, but there's so many damn running backs. I'm just diversifying. Might diversify to him, might diversify to this guy. Just how it is. Let me know what you think about Tyjae Spears in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.